1-2.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to see everybody who joins us in the studio. My name is Olga Atamanova, and Ukraine Media Center continues its operation today. And now we'll be talking about the aftermath of the horrible enemy strike on Ukraine on the 8th of July. We were all witnesses of yet another terroristic attack inflicted by the Russians on our civil infrastructure, residential infrastructure, and a central children's hospital, Okhmatdyt, ended up under strike. We all remember about the maternity hospital and other medical institutions that fell victim to this cynical strike. So today we'll be talking about its aftermath. So let me remind you, on that day under strike was Kyiv, Dnipro, and Kryvyi Rih. Joining us in the studio is Svitlana Vodolaha, head of the press service of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Ms. Svitlana. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Well, really, on the 8th of July, we've experienced one of the most massive strikes inflicted by the Russians on our country, specifically the capital. And talking in figures, unfortunately, back then, during that morning, Kyiv, the cities of Dnipro and Kryvyi Rih ended up under strike along with a part of Kyiv region. Unfortunately, the attack resulted in death of 44 persons plus 196 injured, including 10 children. The rescuers were able to rescue 11 persons, including 3 children. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned, the mostly affected was Kyiv. 33 people died on that day, plus 125 injured, including 10 children. Unfortunately, and fortunately, we were able to rescue 11 people. The rescuers went out on missions to 7 districts of the capital. So basically, almost all of the districts were affected by the effect. More than 500 reports were processed about the incoming strikes and fall of debris, and the rescuers were working in 18 locations. However, the most horrific, the most massive strike fell on 5 locations, such as Central Children's Hospital Okhmatdyt, residential Shevchenkivsky and Holosivsky districts, Adonis Children's Healthcare Facility, and Business Center in the city of Ushinsk. This is where people died. Well, the longest lasting work was taking place in 2 locations in Shevchenkivsky district, our children's hospital, and a residential building in the Salsky Street. What was difficult during those first minutes was the improper parking, the traffic jams when the rescuers were coming to the sites. The law enforcement was trying to regulate the traffic, to manage the traffic, because we had to I mean, the rescue trucks had to come to the sites to get connected to the water sources because such attacks are accompanied by fires usually, and everything should be done with the minimum risk to the life and health of those who may have ended up under the debris. And talking about the Children's Central Hospital of Okhmatdyt, fortunately we were able to avoid mass casualties that we could have had. At the moment our units have arrived, we were preparing to see the worst. Unfortunately, 2 people have died, but I mean, being aware of the number of children, of people staying there, we were expecting to see worse. And we were not knowing what was the number of the people who were staying in that building that was mostly damaged. This is why we were working very carefully, very diligently. Why we were so careful is because we didn't want to cause additional harm to the people who may have ended up under the debris. And yet another site was Salsky Street, where 13 people died, including 6 children. Well, now it's time for summer recess. Children are staying at homes, and many times they are staying home alone. So this strike demonstrated that we have to adhere to the safety rules and to go down to the shelters during such attacks, because we're dealing with the vile enemy. Sometimes we just relax thinking nothing would happen, but unfortunately the experience demonstrates that cases like this happen that result in such colossal losses. 33 people in Kyiv plus 11 people in Kryvyi Rih, where people were working at an industrial facility, and this industrial facility was hit by the Russian strike in Kryvyi Rih. Well, Ms. Svitlana, you've mentioned that you were able to avoid mass casualties in Okhmatdyt. And is it safe to say that the majority have resorted to use of the shelters, going down to the shelters? Yes, the head of Okhmatdyt said that people were mostly staying at the shelters. Obviously, some surgeries were still in progress, and it was impossible to interrupt them to bring people down to the shelters. But fortunately, in Okhmatdyt, we were able to avoid casualties among children. So the fact that the management of Okhmatdyt was enforcing the safety rules, it helped us to avoid the casualties. So talking about the scale of destruction, what is known for the time being? Well, the relevant commissions are working there on evaluation of losses, and I cannot say whether it's subject to reconstruction or not, because it's the construction workers, construction specialists who are part of those commissions who come up with their opinion. And for what I understand, it takes more than 1 day to come up with such opinion. Well, unfortunately, we cannot say our neighbor who is an aggressor, who is terrorist, but still we may secure ourselves in such situations. I mean, the use of the shelters, but in case someone ends up under the debris, if somebody ends up in epicenter of tragic events like this, what would be your advice? I mean, you're seeing a lot of those whom the rescuers are able to rescue. We've seen those incredible stories of this last story of a woman whom the rescuers pulled from under the debris. So my first recommendation is please go down to the shelter. Don't think that it would happen to someone else, but not you. I know that now it's easy to monitor the situation through Telegram, through a lot of different applications, and you can forecast the threat coming close to you. And in case you understand that you don't have enough time to go down to the shelter, please use the rule of two walls, but it's not panacea. It doesn't guarantee 100% that you get your life saved, but if you don't make it to the shelter, it provides you with additional chance to survive. And if, God forbid, you end up under the debris, you know, the situations may be different. And first of all, if you still do end up under the debris, don't panic. If you understand that you've survived, that you're alive, please calm down and remember that there will be rescue team coming to the site of emergency. If you're alive, try to get a grip on yourself. Try to evaluate whether you can move, whether you're injured. If you can move and you're injured, please try to provide yourself with basic emergency aid. If you cannot, please, and you can move, please take the position that is most comfortable for you. Please don't try to move anything. Don't try to move any bars, bricks, because the rest of the debris may sit upon them and everything may crash on you if you move it. Well, during the rescue operations, the rescuers, they have this minute of silence, and if you hear that the voices are silent, no machinery is working, try to make some noise, try to knock, yell, scream, use anything at your hand. Scratch. If you don't have enough strength, just don't yell meanwhile the works are in progress. Please preserve the force until is the minute of silence. In case you have a cellular phone on you and it works and you can use it, please call 101. Tell your approximate location where you been staying at the moment of the tragedy and report that you ended up under the debris, because in this way the rescuers may at least approximately understand where you would be or might be staying, because if the structures crash, people lose track frequently of where they are. Dear friends, dear colleagues, if you have any questions on the floor, now we have an opportunity to do so. Ms. Svitlana, you've also mentioned an important thing, that right after this horrific terroristic attack, unfortunately, the rescuers had some obstacles in their way. So let's discuss those problems. People frequently end up near such emergency sites, and how can they help the rescuers to proceed to their work immediately? Well, so first of all, when you see the special trucks on their way to the emergency site, to the site of explosion, just don't stop in the middle of the road. Give them way, because there are trucks, there are vehicles moving through all of the central roads. Obviously, there will be law enforcement coming to those sites, cutting the traffic. So again, don't try not to create obstacles for them. And when you park, please make sure you don't park near the fire hydrants. I think everybody knows what fire hydrants look like, because if you park your car near them and you have to go somewhere and a fire truck arrives, the rescuers will waste time to look for other hydrants or to move your vehicle elsewhere, and that could be time that takes away someone's life. Well, we've seen huge consolidation of our society when everybody rushed to help, to support the rescuers in Okhmatdyt, both physically and financially. And now we understand that your recommendations for the people who want to help would be also important. So people keep coming. They want to help in clearing the debris to make sure that they rescue those who ended up under them in the quickest way possible. So what should they do? Well, when I've come to Okhmatdyt, well, I didn't know, I wanted to cry, but, I had this mixed feeling. I was full of anger. I had this feeling that there could be children, and then I've seen all those people. I've broken in tears of pride because that number of people who rushed to help the children who may have ended up under the debris. People made chains and they were handing each other those bricks one by one, and you couldn't just squeeze through those chains. I mean, the way that people got self-organized, and they were completely different people. They were injured medics, military, just regular people from the street. And then when we've got reinforced by the military, by the law enforcement, obviously, we've started asking people to walk away, I mean the civilians to walk away from the place of tragedy, because the heavy engineer material started working there, and we've done it to ensure that people don't get injured, and in case any civilians get injured in such situations, we will be responsible for their health. So first of all, I would like to thank our citizens for their initiative, but please take it with understanding that if you're being asked to walk away from the emergency site, it's only for your safety. People were, I've seen them coming with water, with food, and after lunch we started saying, please don't bring food because, it's going to expire. There were people coming to us who were working with the chains of pharmacies, and they were asking, what exactly do you need? Because now people are going to start coming with a lot of unnecessary medicines, and usually when people want to work and they want to help, first of all, please orient at the official sources of information. There are briefings taking place during such events, and it's always the command of the State Emergency Service, and it's the command of emergency service who identifies what kind of help and support they need. And talking about financial support, they always mention the official accounts to transfer money. And such accounts were mentioned for Okhmatdyt Hospital during all of the information communications. Well, thank you very much for this coverage. Once again, we would like to express our compassion to the families of the casualties, those who fell dead or injured. I want to thank you all, and let's continue working together for our victory. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.